What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 4, Chapter 4, Gathering Storm. So yeah, we really are going through the entirety of from when Boba got out of the Sarlacc to present day, aren't we? Because, I already see it, because we got the hint that the Mandalorian is returning, and the next one is called Return of the Mandalorian, but that the Mandalorian music played at the end of this episode whenever he was talking about needing some extra muscle, so he's going to be coming back, and we'll likely see in the next episode the flashback will be all of the time spent trying to track down Mando and find the guy that has his armor. So we are literally going through all of that time in all these flashbacks. I feel like you could have done this in one episode. Have it be an episode where maybe he's talking to somebody about his journey here. Like, hey, how did you get out of that Sarlacc pit? Oh, well, let me tell you the whole story. It could have been so simple, but instead we're stretching this out to fill up this season. Because apparently they didn't have enough of a story to go on, so they're like, oh, let's just make half of the season about how he got out of that Sarlacc pit. Do we really need all that? You couldn't tell enough of a story to fill up a 7-episode season, not even 8 episodes. 7-episode season, you couldn't fill it up with its own original story. You had to pad half of the runtime for this season with flashbacks telling us a story which, I feel like most of us can piece together. Now, granted, I believe those spice traders that he was talking to that were supposed to give, he was supposed to have the Tuskens give protection to whenever they were crossing through the desert, and they were supposed to be paying them for that protection. I think they're playing into the current story, if I'm not mistaken, because he did talk about spice trading, and I believe they're the ones that might be causing some of the issue here in Tatooine. So I guess it will tie in a little bit, but there's so much time spent on stuff that doesn't even really matter. You know, his time spent with the Tuskens, we can gather how much that meant to him. The fact that they took him in, they trained him after he won their respect, we could get all of that very quickly. We don't need to spend all of this time watching him learn slowly, and then watching him grow a connection with these people, and then watching him help them out of this desperate situation. We don't need all of that. It could be very easily shown like that, but instead we spent nearly a half of an episode on it. So, yeah, this episode all about how he and Fennec started working together at the beginning, because, you know, we saw him pick her up at the end of one episode in the first season of The Mandalorian. We really needed to know what happened after that. Well, apparently they go and get his dad's ship back from these people, and he uses that ship to take down the people that killed the Tuskens. Isn't that cool, guys? Didn't you want to see all of that? Yeah, totally wanted to spend a ton of time. And then he goes back to the Sarlacc pit to get his armor, and then, oh, jump scare out of nowhere, because apparently Sarlacc's still alive. Does he not remember what happened after I thought he would remember what happened. I mean, hell, how does he not remember getting out of the Sarlacc pit? You got out with your armor still intact, right? So why would it be inside the Sarlacc? That makes no sense. But, like I said, this is going to lead to him trying to track down Mando, which will tie into the fact that the Mandalorian is showing up in the next episode, because I guess we somehow need to see, oh, guys, let's explain how he managed to get the information he got that led him to tracking down Mando and getting his armor back. Let's show you every step of the process, because you need to know. Sometimes we don't always need all the explanation. You know, we don't need a 30-minute dialogue or explanation of how Batman disappeared from the eyeline of all these enemies and managed to take them down off screen. We don't need that, because it's Batman. He's awesome. Do the same thing with Boba Fett. So many fans already think he's really incredible and he's an awesome bounty hunter. We don't need the explanation of, well, here's how he did this, and then here's how he did this, and then we see he goes over here and does this. See, isn't this so much more interesting now that you know exactly everything? Yeah, leave some of the mystery out of it for us. And that's what's funny to me, is sometimes people will go, hey, could you explain this? Could you fill in this plot hole? That's what they feel like they're trying to do here. It feels like they're trying to fill in all the plot holes of, okay, so we know you guys are wondering how he got out of the Sarlacc pit, how he got to this, how he did this, how he got his ship back. We know you're wondering about all of that. So we're going to show you all of that. And I just feel like it's so unnecessary to show us in as much detail as they're showing us. I think we could have gathered some clues based on what happened in The Mandalorian. We could have figured out some of the steps. So why are you treating us like we're idiots that need to be taught every step of the way? Here's exactly what happened. It's really frustrating. Oh, but as far as the present day stuff, I don't know. It feels like we're just taking itty bitty tiny baby steps forward in this plot where we see that he's trying to again take control, be the daimyo in this area, and I'm guessing there's probably going to be one of these leaders that he was talking to that's going to betray him in the end, and then they're going to get taught a lesson that you don't betray him. It just feels so simple and safe and not at all interesting. So we'll see what happens, but oh, excuse me. Like I said, I'm not really liking what they're doing with this show so far. It feels, first of all, it's a little insulting that, again, they feel like they have to spell out all of this stuff that I think a majority of your audience has already kind of pieced together. But you're spelling out all this stuff, you're spending half of your season on it, so it just feels like you're padding the runtime. And then the main plot that you're moving forward with, that you're actually doing that's new for this season, it feels very slow paced. Like we're not really going anywhere with it. We're halfway through the season now, and I feel like I've not seen hardly any steps from where we started at the beginning, where he's trying to take control as the daimyo. People aren't really listening to him. People aren't really respecting him. And now we're still kind of there. We still don't know really who sent the assassins. We know that the mayor's kind of involved somehow. I don't know. It's very frustrating. I hope there's something that I can grasp onto at the end of this season, but so far it's just been very bland. And it's probably the worst thing I can say about a show. Because even on those shows like Batwoman that are just so bad, it's kind of memorable how bad they are. Like, I will always remember what happened in that show because it was so bad. It left an impression. It was that bad. If you're not leaving much of an impression at all, if you're just a very bland show that's not really well put together, I feel like that's even worse. Because how are people going to even remember you after all is said and done? It also does not help my reviews because, again, it's hard to be entertaining whenever there's nothing really to gush over or rip into. It's just, it's all just sort of there. It's all happening. There's not really much I can say about it outside of the fact that, again, it kind of feels very hand-holdy in the way they're presenting it. So anyways, on to the next episode. I'll see you there. And now Chapter 5, Return of the Mandalorian. But let's just call it what it is. This is Mandalorian Season 2.5, in between Season 2 and 3. That's basically this entire episode. It was really good. The problem is it has nothing to do with Boba Fett. So the best episode of this season so far had nothing to do with the title of the show. Oh, I don't get it. The writing was better in this episode. The CGI as well looked a lot more clean. The characters were much more interesting. All of it just felt much better. But it was all about the Mandalorian. Which, yeah, technically we got introduced to Boba Fett in the Mandalorian show. However, you have an entire episode where your main character was mentioned by name one time. The rest of it was entirely focused on an entirely different character from another show that already has his own show. So it just, to me, that is a sign that you really didn't have much of an idea with Boba Fett. You essentially made this show and decided, you know what, instead of focusing on Boba Fett, let's forward the Mandalorian story a little bit more. Let's have an in-between episode where essentially we learn what happened after Season 2 before we get into Season 3. That's really what this felt like. And the fact that you felt like you had to make an entire season about another character to have that episode, that I can't prove that that's what happened, but that's what it feels like. It feels like they were sitting there and they're like, the Mandalorian's doing really well. Yeah, I have an idea for an episode to transition from season 2 to season 3. I have an idea for that. However, it's only going to be long enough for an episode. What if we did a Boba Fett show and we had one of our episodes be that episode? We can have the Mandalorian come help at some point, and we can use that episode as an explanation as to why he's coming to help. How does that sound? I like where you're thinking. Oh, yeah. It's pretty poor. It's pretty poor storytelling from the series as a whole. But focusing on the details of this episode, like I said, it was a good Mandalorian episode. Because getting to see him using the Darksaber, getting to see him encountering the what's her face? The Armorer, I think her name is. And then also this other Mandalorian who apparently comes from the line of, or the lineage of the one who had the Darksaber to begin with. It was a very interesting dilemma. And seeing how they react to him being there using the Darksaber, even though they don't really think he deserves it. And then especially after they find out he removed his helmet, now he's not even considered a Mandalorian anymore. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. And then everything to do with him going to Tatooine, seeing what's her name. I don't even remember her name anymore. Honestly, her character is so hit or miss. Like sometimes she'll say something and it's pretty funny, and then other times she's whatever happened with the little creature thing that was attacking her BD unit, and all of a sudden she falls down, and it almost looked like she was doing a bit for her robots. Like the way she fell down and she was like, "Oh God, oh he's got me, oh." What was that? But I mean, that's kind of how her character is. She's very comedic character. Sometimes the jokes, they make me chuckle. Sometimes they make me groan. I don't ever really get a good belly laugh out of her. Like, none of her lines are really hilariously funny. So she kind of tends to get on my nerves more often than not. But her giving Mando his new ship and all of that, that was fun. It was fine. Seeing them build it, seeing them get all the parts from the Jawas, I kind of wondered if maybe this is how Mando is going to get basically entrapped in the story, wrapped up in the story, since the Jawas apparently stole one of the pieces for the ship from the spice traders. I thought that's how things were going to go awry. They were going to track him down, and then essentially he was going to have to fight him off, and that's how he was going to get basically tied up with Boba Fett's story. But instead, no, they don't even seem to notice that the part's missing. And then Fennec at the end just shows up. It's like, hey, he needs your help. So, yeah, I mean, all in all, it was a good episode. But like I said, it wasn't an episode about Boba Fett at all. So I can't really say this is a good episode for this show. It was just a good Mandalorian episode. It's really hard to say that that's a good thing, considering the context of it. So, on top of that, I will say I'm excited to see, because I think they made chainmail based on what I saw, because they had like the little chains falling, and the only thing I could think of, since he's supposed to make armor out of the Beskar, I would assume that they're making chainmail armor for Grogu to wear. I can't wait to see that. I'm excited to see him wearing some chainmail. So I don't know if we're going to see that in this show or if that's going to be Mandalorian season 3, but yeah, that'll be adorable. I think that's about it though for this episode. Yeah, just I don't know. We'll see what happens. 2 more episodes for the season. We'll see what happens. See if it can pull itself back up from the depths. Same way that Boba pulled himself out from the depths of the Sarlacc pit. Can this show pull itself from the depths of the crap pit? I don't know. I don't think so, because it really feels like they just did not have a good, solid premise for this for the series to happen. So I can't be too surprised that Book of Boba Fett Season 2 is not happening, because from this, I don't really feel like the reactions would have been that excited. Again, getting me excited for Mandalorian Season 3, but not for anything more Boba Fett going forward. So anyways, that's all for this. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 2 episodes? Let me know. We could talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Book of Boba Fett reviews, and I'll see you guys the final 2 episodes. Peace out.